I would like to say before the video starts that the audio quality is fairly bad. I was having mic troubles at this point, and as a result it wasn't really working properly. So if I sound quiet or echoey, that's why. My apologies. I'll have it fixed for the next video. I promise you all. Goodbye, bye-bye. Toodaloos. I was there, watched the video, enjoyed it. Show 'em what we've got, chaps. Hello everybody, welcome back to another World of Warships Legends video. Today we are playing Rodney, the new Tier 7 British battleship. Yes, I did buy this ship. I had a £50 Xbox gift voucher lying around, which I thought I might as well use to bring entertainment for you people, because I love you all. We are on the map Trap. We're at a spawn. We've spawned with Siegfried, who decides that his best course of action is to fire his guns at nothing but air, for some reason, and that's going to lead him to being spotted. Thankfully, there are no carries in this game. Rodney's air is pretty poor. It gets that from Nelson. Most of Rodney is similar to Nelson. In fact, the camo's the same as Nelson's, which I think is incredibly lazy, and Wargaming should definitely give its historical camo. It's seriously pissing me off. I saw someone on Reddit who posted something along the lines of Wargaming are really lazy, and, you know, well, they didn't, yeah, they basically said that. Not those exact words, but they said basically that. And then their post got removed by the moderators for some mythical reason that we don't know about. Although I could have a few guesses. Rodney's obviously much like Nelson, appearance-wise, and plays in a similar way. The differences between Rodney and Nelson is that Rodney has torpedoes. It's got very funny torpedoes. It's got the curving torpedoes that the British battle cruisers do. Specifically, I think they're the exact same torpedoes that are on Duncan. I could be wrong, but I think they're statistically identical. She's got a sonar or an engine boost. I'm using sonar in this game. I'm not sure which one I prefer, because engine boost is quite a good consumable if you have the unique skill for Jackie Fisher, which of course you should be using. The unique Jackie Fisher skill that allows you to, you know, increases your speed, you take less damage when the engine boost is active. That skill, I forgot the name of it, but it's quite a good skill. But then you have to sacrifice fight fire with fire for that, which is a skill I covered. Anyway, I'm using sonar for this one, and it's going to come in. Well, it's not the most handy in a game with no destroyers, but it'll certainly help. I took a shot at the key there, but he stopped. I'm being outplayed. I have been forced to kite because I don't really want to go broadside, because Rodney does have the same citadel as Nelson. In other words, it's enormous. Although, unlike Nelson, you do not get citadel through the bow really well. With the exception of Georgia, Republique, and Musashi, which can overmatch you, because seeing as it's a Tier 7 and it's got Tier 7's armour, it's 32 everywhere, with the exception of the bow, which is 30. So you can just do the old charge straight in, bow in, torpedo brawling, which I like to do. That's quite funny. I'm just going to fire random torpedoes. I tend to be quite liberal with the torpedoes in Rodney.
Problem solved, sir.
Anyways, the commander build will just be on screen right now. I recommend this specifically to maximise the heals, which are very powerful, as they are the typical Royal Navy heals. I think they might be the same as Siegfried's. Not, sorry, I'm Siegfried is done. I think it's the same as Lion's. Lion's heal. They're slightly shorter duration than Nelson's, but they heal more, so they heal the same amount faster, basically. So the torpedoes do about 30,000 damage each, which is a lot, but the big problem with the torpedoes is that you've got only 2 per side, and whilst you couldn't basically one-tap a battleship if you get a good salvo off plus torpedoes, the torpedoes, because they do this weird curvy thing, they've got, their minimum range is quite large, and they do tend to take a little bit of time to get to the target, as we saw on the Bismarck, who had more than enough time to turn to dodge one of them. Anyways, it's now just me alone. The Allied Massachusetts and Siegfried have died, so it's just me, versus the Baltimore and the Amalfi at the moment. They've got more ships that are coming in, so it can very easily get bad. I'll admit I do make errors in this game. I'll tell you them when they do happen, of course. I'll be one to admit to my mistakes. But thankfully, well, Honestly, HE Amalfi is probably not ideal in this situation. I hold my fire here
Problem solved.
because I feel like the Amalfi's I might get a better shot on the Amalfi at some point. Which unfortunately I'm not going to do actually, and this shot that I'm going to take right now is not going to give any results. The dispersion on Rodney is not the same as Nelson's. It's Sigma's. I think Nelson's Sigma is 1.8 standard battleship dispersion. It's all normal. Rodney's is 1.7. Unfortunately, you can't check these values in the game, so I'm only having to go by word of mouth. So I could be wrong. Hopefully, I'm not. But Rodney's dispersion is 1.7 Sigma, and the dispersion formula is that of Russian battleships, I do believe, which means that at long range you're not going to do a lot. You're going to be very inaccurate, but as you get closer you're going to get very accurate very fast. That's why I like fight fire with fire. Of course, we're going to... Honestly, the HE Amalfi is probably a good thing here, just purely because we get to activate fight fire with fire more often. So in the rock and a hard place situation, I'm stuck here getting farmed by the Baltimore now. Oh, what do you look about the Dalians here? Now, I assumed that the Dalians, the one thing the Dalian was not going to do here was stay broadside and just slow down to a stop, but he's outplayed me there.
Direct front.
You got a convenient gap in the torpedoes though.
Fire.
Rock and a hard place again. We've got 3 cruisers, and if I go out anywhere, I'm going to get smacked by the Jean Bart, and the key is still around. I'm going to take a... Well, it's not really a blind shot, I guess, because I already know where he is. And unfortunately, it's not enough to kill him, although I do land 6 shells and get the Citadel, because the Russian dispersion is, of course, very nice. As you can see, the heel, very handy. It's absolutely Jackie Fisher type build that you need to run. You can use Agilane Nelson, but I just prefer Jackie Fisher, because I also hate anime with a passion. So, Rodney... Jackie Fisher, 4 heals, obviously, very powerful. I'm honestly surprised they still made Fisher a free commander. Now, Baltimore's going to sit here and bow tank me, which is an odd decision because Rodney's guns are 406s/16 inch, which means you overmatch 27, which is what Baltimore's bow armor is. So we can have a bow slugging match here, and I will come out on top eventually. I'm also just going to throw torpedoes at him, because why not? I'll admit again, I do make mistakes, and I do get more than a bit lucky. So I think this, if I remember correctly, this set, yeah, that sets a 3rd, not star fire with fire, so we're going to stay alive. Our team is doing stuff over at sea. They seem to be winning. It's a 3v1 with that one battleship the far north of the map. And, hang on, made it wait for it. Dink. Only 14,000, unfortunately. His bows are very saturated, but... Well, that finishes him off. I have got close to torpedo and destroyer. I nearly torpedoed Lo Yang earlier today, which would have been quite funny, although unfortunately it hasn't happened yet. And the Amalfi's moved into the base, and we're going to get another heal here. And this puts me in a bit of an odd position, because I should probably go round and get the crossfire on the battleships, but I can't really do that if the Dalian's still lurking about. So it's more of a waiting game now to see what the Dalian is going to do. And what the Dalian does do isn't very smart, and I don't think I'm going to beat the paid actor allegations because of it. You will see here in a minute what I mean. And there is the Dalian, just... And, you know, he gets his fire on a stern somehow. I don't think the fire physics in this game work very well. But instead of just sitting in his smoke, he actually just goes forwards. And Dalian... Rodney does still have short fuse AP, which does still work on super light cruisers. And Darlian's very much vulnerable. So yes, short fuse AP. I neglected to mention that. Short fuse armor piercing doesn't really bother me. I know some people don't like it, but I feel like it's consistent enough with the accuracy at close range. You get enough pens, and well, at this range you certainly will get enough citadels. I don't think it matters that much. Yeah, I wouldn't really say it's a net positive, but it's kind of like a neutral exchange, you know. Anyways, I'm going to go around and kill the key. No, I'm not, because I've hit the island because I'm an idiot. And the key is also using RGA mod, so he knows that I'm coming. Very slowly, because I'm slowly grinding against the island. But that doesn't mean that he's completely ready for it. He's still got his turrets facing the opposite direction. Which means we've got the opportunity to establish a crossfire with Jean Bart, who we're going to kill immediately. And get our torpedoes off on a key, because these torpedoes do monumental amounts of damage, but it's not going to kill the key, and he is going to get his own set of torpedoes off. We did pre-heal though, so his set of torpedoes doesn't kill us. But it's unfortunately our last tier. Key, well, we're close enough, we're not going to miss from that distance, and that also bags us the Kraken as well. We also picked up a high caliber at some point, although I don't know when. That just leaves 2 enemy ships remaining. We've got, well, the rest of our team is fairly healthy. The Amalfi, I expect him to turn in. He does, but he turns in a bit too much, and we only land 2 shells. Of course, the Amalfi, if he gets fire, he kills us. If he just hits us enough, he'll kill us.
Problem solved, sir.
This is where I would have preferred it would have been an SAP Amalfi. Before we die, though, actually, we do get a lovely chunk and a good citadel on him. He underestimates our reload, because the reload on Rodney is significantly better than Nelson's. And he does, unfortunately, get a fire on us, and that will send us to the bottom. Well, eventually, after a very long time, we do win on points. The enemy main goes to the back of the map. Game time hits 0. So a victory on points it will be. We do 236,000 damage from a game which I consider to have a lot of luck in it and a few paid actors, but it's certainly good enough for me. 4,000 base XP. You don't hit that very often. I certainly don't, because I'm a bit washed. This next game here, taking place on my favourite map, Two Brothers, or Dos Hermanos, or Du Frère in French, I think. I don't know what it is in German. I was about to say it in German, but then I forgot. This is one of my first games I actually played in Rodney. It's my first recorded game. Got a regular Rodney, although you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because Wargaming is incredibly lazy and didn't give Rodney their own camo. And I will not let them forget this. Can we please have justice for Rodney and give it its own camo, please? And I swear to God, I saw Where Are You, Aaron? He said that they're probably gonna make us pay for it, and if that happens, he's willed it into existence and he won't hear the end of it from me. Regardless. We've spawned in A, we've got a New Orleans with us, and of course the aforementioned Nelson. No destroyers again. I find this quite funny sometimes, because in case you haven't noticed, both games I'm using sonar to get close and brawl, because I like doing that. And neither game has a destroyer. And the second I took the sonar off to put the engine boost on, I immediately got like back-to-back 4 destroyer games where I both ended up fighting. You know, earlier I mentioned the Loyang game where I nearly talked him. That was 2 Loyangs in 1 cap in smoke, and I was fighting both of them. And I didn't have sonar for that, and I probably would have killed them both if I did have sonar. Regardless. This is a down tier, again. I feel like Rodney gets preferential matchmaking. To my memory, I think I've only had 1 tier 8 game. Anyways, Vanguard. Flat broadside. We do have short fuse AP again, so citadeling Vanguard from this range is unfortunately unlikely. Well, that doesn't mean we won't chunk him a bit. Not much. Got 3 overpens somehow. Dispersion. Russian. Not very good at range. I don't know why they gave it Russian dispersion. Actually, I do know why they gave it Russian dispersion, because if it was laser accurate at all ranges, it would probably be a bit broken. Speaking of which, I've heard many good things about Rodney, and I have to agree. It's probably one of my favourite tier 7s right now, in fact. It's the only tier 7 I've played in the last 2 days. mainly for video purposes. But there is one certain bloke who doesn't seem to like it. He's in the thumbnail. I don't know if you can guess who it is. I mentioned him earlier. He's, as the thumbnail says, he's washed, he's old, don't listen to him. He wants to take a shot here at the Azuma, but he is unfortunately going to reverse. New Orleans has put himself in a nice position to get the cap and provide spotting for the Vanguard as well. Well, for the Vanguard. For us, he's spotting the Vanguard. We do actually get the Citadel there because it's a Vanguard who's broadside. I'm not beating the paid actor allegations, am I? I guess that's just what happens when you spend money to buy a ship in this game. You just get your paid actors delivered to you. Free damage. You see it there. I feel like the shell grouping is quite good, but the dispersion is quite poor. You can see it in a lot of these salvos, where a lot of the shells are really, you know, tight and close together, and the rest of them are just going all over the place. Anyway, the Vanguard's going to die. No, he's not. He's healing. He's got his funny heal on, which is annoying. So we're going to try and kill him, hopefully. And, you know, naturally we don't, but he is going to die due to fires. His heal is expired. Now, this does basically just leave an Azuma and a Miyoko, both cruisers, both ships we can overmatch as well with the 16-inch guns. The 16-inch guns may not be as imposing as they are in Tier 6, with a lot more 16-inch gun battleships in Tier 7, but they'll still pack a punch, and they'll still overmatch 27 nonetheless. Now, our own Nelson's, he's not very healthy, but he is a Nelson, so I'm sure he's going to heal back to full health any second now. We're going to go full speed, which is incredibly slow because we don't have the engine boost, and also I just noticed that we're also not running a speed flag for whatever reason. Yeah, I'd recommend doing that, by the way. I anticipate Miyoko turning out a bit, but he doesn't. He turns in, which is fine because we do still get the Citadel anyway. Double sit, actually. My aim is literally that good on, you know, 9 times out of 10 it's not, but whatever. I'm going to put it down to still not being used to the shell arcs. A lot of the enemy ships have grouped up now between C and D, and that's going to allow us to establish the much beloved crossfire and much coveted crossfire. Bismarck reversing, flat broadside, big damage, big chunk hopefully. Dispersion looking pretty good as it is in close to medium range. 14,000, pretty nice. I'll certainly take that. I'm going to have a random Shart torpedo here at the Azuma because why not? I said I'm liberal, but liberal is not a word. That, good lord. I swear I did go to school. I'm obviously not anymore because I'm really, really old. And I can feel the arthritis kicking into my wrists, actually. It's like, speaking of which, I got a trapped nerve in my shoulder the other day, which is really annoying me. And it's been there for, well, it's I say it's been there. It's gone now, I think, basically. I don't know, you can't see it, but I'm basically waving my arm about. I think it's gone. Azuma we can overmatch. But the dispersion says, oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. We're going to give you one over, pen. So that doesn't happen. And that annoys me to no end. So don't worry, though. The reload, I think the reload is 27 seconds by default, of course. With the Dance with Death, with a Fisher, which, of course, I run, and I recommend you run, is quite the powerful skill. Although it's not got much of an effect right now, because we're still nearly full health. The Atlanta has just kind of not noticed anyone exists. I don't know where he's going, so I'm just going to have a shot at him. Dispersion's good, but he is in Atlanta, and Atlanta in 2025 still has no Citadel half the time. Unless, of course, you play the Atlanta, in which case you get Devstock immediately. So for now, we're going to turn our attention back to the Azuma, because the Atlanta's got undetected, and you can just stay that way. I'm going to aim for the bow again. Slowly, carefully aim for the bow. And yeah, no, bad dispersion again. It's not that bad, I swear. This is just like some of the worst shots I've had in Rodney. It's not that bad. It really isn't. You know, it's, you know, that one guy who I mentioned earlier who's in the thumbnail saying it's got bad dispersion. No, it hasn't. It's just bad at range. Don't listen to him. He's washed. He's old. Don't listen to him. And he's old and he's washed. I zoom in. This time, though, dispersion's good enough. We get that citadel through the bow, and we take him out to pick up our second kill. We won't get a Kraken in this game, though, so don't keep an eye out for that. The Atlanta is going to be killed here, eventually. There he goes, killed by the Hippo. And that leaves a 5 versus 4, with an equal amount of caps. We're ahead by 200 points. They do have a mines, which is incredibly annoying. We're going to take the risk of putting a double fire out. I'm not quite sure why 2 of our ships have gone down the middle of the map. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that myself, but you know, it means that we don't get to establish any kind of crossfire or anything, and going down the middle of the map on this map is funny anyway, so you might as well do it.
Fire.
I'm not concerned about the mines, particularly, because I can just heal all of his fire damage. That's the uniqueness of British shields, that they heal all fire and flooding damage, and I think Rodney's heals 50% of Citadel damage. I feel like, anyway. I don't know. I don't get Citadel that much because I'm not picking my nose while I'm playing the game. Then the Ghanai's now turns up. See, I really want to experiment with the armor piercing more on battleships and, you know, see what I can and cannot Citadel for future reference. But unfortunately, every single battleship that's broadside to me is German, because German players are really, really bad at the game and really stupid and really smelly. Unless, of course, you wanted to go buns, because there are, of course, good German battleship players out there. I do know a few. We are in a fairly good position now. We've got our allies eaten, providing a secondary fire. The Hippo can kind of sit behind that ridge and do what he likes. The New Orleans is in a bad spot, though.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.
You know, bow tanking, battleship, depends on the battleship. Rodney, for example, good idea. In a cruiser that gets overmatched by, you know, one of the enemy battleships, probably not. Just want to throw it out there. Confederate medal, though. Confederate medal before a high caliber medal, as one man I would say that I'm bad at the game because of that. You know who you are if you're watching. Gunar's now going to die if we don't kill him. Someone else will, so we just fire one turret because I don't want to waste my time. And we get the kill anyway. That's kill number 3.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
Now, we do have an allied Bismarck who's at the top of the map, who's been single-handedly stopping the enemies from pushing into B and A and down the middle of the map, which is very well played by him. And I do have to offer my congratulations. Unfortunately, we don't have a complimenting button like we do on the PC version of the game. I would like Wargaming to implement that. We do have a report button, but no complimenting button, and also still no sorry button on the command wheel, which I feel very bad about, because sometimes I make mistakes and want to say sorry to people because I'm not a complete arsehole. Anyways, because we're XP farming, we get the cap. The New Orleans gets his cup medal as well.
Has taken the lead.
There are many different terms for that medal. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone calling it the Helping Hand medal. I call it the cup medal. Some people call it the fisting medal. I'm sure there are multiple other terms for it, but again, nobody's ever called it Helping Hand, I don't think. Now, mines is going to be a bit tricky here, because, you know, I'm expecting him to be dodging and weaving and stuff, so I'm staggering my fire in the volley to better account for his movements. Although, I think he's just given up at this point. You know, when the enemy's got 900 points and it's a 1v5, it's kind of Jova, so... I also get a nice smooch from I was eating there. Mwah. How lovely. You know, I'm tempted to fire HE at the mines because I like breaking the German cruisers with HE. because that's very funny when they get their engines broken and they repair it and then they immediately get it broken again. Anyway, Wargaming screws us over with the dispersion now, and we don't get the final kill, though we do pick up the fireproof medal. Again, for my first recording, I was expecting something disastrous, but 172,000 damage, top of the team, 2,937 XP with the high caliber Confederate and fireproof medal. So, final thoughts on the Rodney. Is it worth the price tag? No, absolutely not. No ship in this game is worth the price tag. Don't buy it. But if you are going to buy something because you're a whale, or you have a £50 gift voucher lying around like I did, then I'd say Rodney's probably at the top of that list. It may seem like an Nelson. Some people go, it's got the fire chances 14% worse. I think it's 14% worse, or 13% worse, or something like that. And then the HEs, it's only 6th pen, it's not quarter pen like the Nelsons is, blah, blah, blah. If that's your argument, I'd suggest taking a long, hard look at your controller and then pressing the X button and then seeing what happens. Okay, that's my word of advice. Little rant aside. Yeah, not worth the price tag, but if you are going to buy something at tier 7 and you want to buy a battleship, Rodney, Atlantico, something like that, at least they went out the way to make the little nameplate on my back. I think that's the only difference. I think there's just got a little AA gun on the B turret as well. Anyway, I will see all of you in the next video, and I do mean all of you because you will come back. Give a like if you think the video was good and I'm awesome. Give it a dislike if you think I'm an idiot and a wanker. Subscribe if you feel like it. I'll see you all next time. Toodaloo, au revoir, bye bye.